Yes, sir. You can take over, sir. Please
No,
speak.
the video has to be played from your end.
Okay. The first video, sir. Ryzen
Yeah, that's the one.
is doing it.
Move the cursor, yeah.
Good morning, friends. I think as a curtain raiser, you have just seen what was the history of India and how we were the world leader for wealth creation as well as knowledge creation. And after 1700 or so, we lost our charm, all kinds of things. But we are going to regain the paradise we have lost. And it has already seen, and now the COVID has actually made many countries and many business schools actually equal to everybody, because the existing pedagogy and the existing materials that were the normal way of teaching is being threatened and questioned, and the crisis has made it definitely possible. That's why you are at your home, I am at my home, and we are still talking about it. So in this module 0, we want to give you a very unique opportunity only 3 to 4 other business schools in the entire country can give. And that is essentially an Atal innovation mission supported based on the Niti Aayog, a startup or an incubator or an entrepreneurial culture. We in Great Lakes, even before that, decided that our students should get on to what I call it as entrepreneurship. And this is the first time you may be hearing at the graduation, along with the students, 4 companies incubated by Great Lakes program called AGBI, Atal Innovation Mission, Great Lakes Balachandran Incubation Center. This building you will be seeing, more details you'll be learning and hearing, but let me give you just the 10,000 feet above sea level big picture, whereas the details will be given by the team of AGBI headed by mentor Professor Ranga Veeravalli, the CEO Saurabh, and one of our own graduates, Elizabeth. So let me talk about why startups. The most important thing, as I just now said, this graduation year, which we are planning to do it in person, not on a online kind of a basis, when things are settled down, maybe in the month of November, December, whatever time. 4 companies, a company called Whistle Drive from Hyderabad, a company called Smart Race from the Chennai, another company called Atsuya, also from Chennai, and something from Tirupur in South India, a company which does all kinds of undershirts, t-shirts, various kinds of garments. These 4 companies, of which 3 of them are the graduates of Great Lakes, will be graduating a company with a 1-minute video of that company, and the company itself will be graduating. No other place anywhere in the world you can see not only the students graduate, but the students supported, raised, incubator, accelerator, startup also does that. We emphasize in any startup 3 things. It should be agile, available to be adjusted to any conditions. There are all kinds of disruptive technology, disruptive business model, disruptive pedagogy, disruptive learning platforms, all of them will be there. You got to be agile and also flexible. And this is essentially the most important thing, where due to change of conditions, you should be in a very quick way to adapt and adjust and make a difference. So it should be flexible. And the most important thing is the lean startup. Unlike big companies which can afford a lot of investments, etc., you are going to put your own money, your own family money, and all those things, and take an enormous risk. And therefore, unless it is lean, you can, if there is any fat, that is going to give a drag. So agile, flexible, lean startups is what we want. And to explain that, I would like to take my own case. I am in about less than 20 days, will be 83 years completed and 84. When I was 64, I got a quintuple bypass surgery. The surgery was done sometime in 2002, about 63, 64 rather. Guess what? At that time, I had an option. I had an option of taking completely rest. And I had a quintuple bypass surgery, paid for 1, got 4 free, which is a fantastic model. But at the same time, everybody said, you are about to retire, take a rest, and therefore you go for the next slide. So take a rest or regain your health, regain your things. So you have everybody as a choice. Notice that only my entrepreneurial spirit, though it was burning earlier and latent inside, got completely out when I got a second life, because the surgery could have gone wrong and I could have been dead. So at 65, I thought of, based on my experience, please note that it is absolutely needed, experience of setting up the IIM Bangalore in 1972-73 with a person called Bulakad Ramasan, who was the director. The first 6 faculty members were recruited in my home in Northbrook in 1972-73. And then I also did MDI Gurgaon with a grant from United Nations Development Program. So I got a sort of a feeling that how to run a place, but I was never putting my own money. And then The most important setup that I did with a lot of other people money is Indian School of Business, which was at one time called GAME. My name was Global Alliance for Management Excellence. So I had the training, but suddenly I found out the time was right, the location was right. There was no good Indian Institute of Management in the entire Tamil Nadu. The Indian Institute of Management Trichy came only 4 years back. In 2003, 2004, nothing was there. The only reasonable thing is LIBA from Laila College and probably the program from IIT Chennai or Madras. So single-handedly, with all the money that I made due to consulting all over the place, I put, and also had a very lovely house in Nilangarai, 5 grounds, one of the research and one of the nice park kind of stuff. And that I sold it off and put all my money and started this so-called Great Lakes Institute of Management. But I had a fantastic dream. Dream big, but start small. It was in a rented building, less than 1 acre, and I want to have a world class. The first batch called the Pioneers, who graduated in the year 2005, admitted in 2004, asked me, sir, you are saying it's a world class school. Look around. Does this look like a world class school with an 1 acre? It's all in the brain. It's all in your mind. It's all in your dream. So I dreamt big. Now we have a 35-acre campus in Chennai, and there is another campus of about 7.5 acres in Gurgaon, and very soon we may have something more than that. I will not talk about that. But at the same time, I felt, and I came from a village background, so we adopted a lot of villages, around 27 villages. Dr. Arul Sami are going to meet sometime, and he will talk about that, Karma Yoga and what. And what we have done that time was, why not we create an opportunity to the students themselves, while they are students, actually having an experiential learning of how to create an entrepreneurship, how to conceive, what kind of partners you want to have, how do you develop that and implement that. So that is exactly what I was thinking in my mind. And luckily, about 4 years back, Government of India have announced what is called as an Atal Innovation Mission under Niti Aayog, and they gave the grants only to the engineering schools. But nobody thought business schools can also do certain things in service industry or whatnot. And a very few schools which applied, more than 200 schools applied, only 4 schools got it at the time. We are one of the 4. So therefore, we wanted to give you the entrepreneurship feeling. And what is this feeling? That feeling is entrepreneurship cannot succeed if you do not do the management properly and implementation properly. So there are 2 things I want to bring before I go to this transparency. Right now, let us look at the agile part. You are faced with this COVID. So the crisis of COVID is creating so much of tension all over the world, including India. This is not only the COVID, due to this COVID and all kinds of distancing, and to prevent this propagation of this infection, you have to shut down and put you in house arrest in many places. That's where we are. And that means many companies are going to go bankrupt. So now the COVID has created an economic crisis. That economic crisis is on top of it. And on top of that, you are also having disruptive technology, etc. So if all of them are combined, then you are stuck with a scenario that we are right now facing, where some of the courses have to be on a blended basis. And we cannot even if we want to open, the Government of India and the AICT will not allow. So we are going to stop that. So we are going to, but now the question is, fast forward, and you are going to go to your placement season. I really feel there are a lot of uncertainties. You are going to face it, we are going to face it. But one thing is, we are changing the uncertainty to be a productivity. We are changing the fear, false evidence appearing real, to a hope. Hope means huge opportunities, profitably and productively executed. That's what we are doing. So now the question is, can you execute on top of a job that you are going to get sometime probably in the month of January, February, March? Can you also have a parallel process where if for due to some uncertainties, something inevitable happens? I always say uncertainties are inevitable, but worrying is optional. Actually, you are inheriting the uncertainty and there is no way you can avoid it. But whatever uncertainty you are having, our competition also has it. Other business schools have it, everybody else. So therefore, worrying is optional. Panicking is definitely pathetic, and therefore planning is paramount. This entrepreneurial idea is nothing but a planning that you are going to have on top of the normal routine of getting a job from a very good company, dream company. Get it, pay your debt, all of them. But during the year itself, starting even tomorrow, your mind should be, can I have a standby? Can I have a side business? Can I have a parallel project? And therefore, can I have my own company where I am the boss or I am a partner with the 2 or 3 other classmates we are having a. So that is essentially we are going to have. So to plan for the uncertainty and to have an additional opportunity so that in case of some unexpected thing happens, you are not hurt because you are having a standby option. With the 3 or 4 others complementing and supplementing skills during the year, before even you are coming to the campus, you are going to think that way and identify what can you do during the month of July, August, September, and probably sometime in October, you are going to come to the campus. So that kind of thing, you have the AGBI, and the people are going to tell you what kind of things you can do. And while you are in the home during this mentorship with the faculty, you are also going to have some kind of a social get together from your own city, people who are admitted. And can you think in terms of entrepreneurship? And therefore, given that you are going to think as a standby, as a planning to convert a challenge as an opportunity, convert a stumbling block as a stepping stone, you are going to do it. What's the difference? The difference between success and failure is how do you think and how do you scale and what is the size. I want you to dream big, decide quick, and start small. Dream big, decide quick, decide means implement, and start small. When? Tomorrow. How do you do that? There are a lot of difference between management of mature companies. What you are going to be taught are generally management of mature companies. Also, you are going to work for a multi-billion, multi-million, international, multinational company. But side by side, you can think of less than 1 crore, less than 20 lakhs startup. And that startup, this Whistle Drive got $7 million investment. Smarteries got $2 million. Atsuya got $3.5 million. Not only from Indian companies, but international. All of them were students 1 year before. How did they do? They dreamed big, decided quick, implemented swift, and start small. And therefore, the most important thing you are going to see is the cash flow. You've got to think about the cash flow. You are going to put your own family money. It is not other people's money. So you have to continuously measure, monitor, manage, and maximize your performance. Performance in terms of wealth, performance in terms of customer, performance in terms of product, in terms of reputation. So think brave, be bold. That means you are going to take unexpected risk. That risk has to be mitigated. That is what we are going to teach you, how to do that, how to reduce that, systematically and periodically evaluating what you are doing. And the only thing that I want to concentrate unlike any other financial statements you might have seen from, let us say, Ashwath Damodaran or Vijay Narayan talked about culture and trust, the same thing that we need. But the question I want to more emphasize is you have to think about the cash flows. You got to continuously monitor the cash flows, and you can have a high cash flow burn rate. And our people are going to talk about the details of that. I'm giving you the direction. You're going to have a 6-step approach of 6I: ideation, iteration, innovation, incubation, implementation, and of course, inspiring the customer after that when you graduate. Similarly, we are going to talk about 6Gs: gate when you get in, what kind of risk to be mitigated, gauge your risk, and people are going to guide you with mentorship, grow your company, graduate, and generate. And what is this incubation? The safest place that you had ever in your life is not in India or US. It is in your mother's womb. So I am making the 6G just like a mother's womb, how you can be safe and secure and nothing affects. And when you get out, that means graduate. How do you grow? So that AGBI model is going to be taught. The whole thing of inspiration and your motivation should be what is called as globality and inspirity. What is globality? Not globalization, the next transfer. The globality is nothing but 3 things. Can I compete with anyone in the world? That is a top point, this one. Can I compete with anyone in the world? From anywhere in the world, India, village, Manamai, Chennai, Delhi, whatever. Can I compete from anywhere in the world? And can I compete for and with any resource in the world? Can I compete for any resource in the world? With whatever resource I have. So please note that there are things. Can I compete with anybody in the world? Can I also compete staying anywhere in the world, in a remote village? And we can do that. And that is exactly what now Great Lakes challenged everybody, and we got the 3rd rank in the business analytics area in the world. What is globality? That is what is global. What is infinity? Inspired prosperity. How do I inspire and get prosperity? You've got to be ideation, the ICE, innovation, implementation. And you have to have incentives. You have to definitely improvise because you cannot have a huge capital budget. And you have to have a lot of insight. I have to say you got to have 4 insights. I want you to awake with your insights, arise with your hindsight, avoid any oversight, and achieve with your foresight. The details are going to be discussed by our team very now. Let me summarize with a final note. Dream big, decide quick, implement also swift, and start small. With that, let me introduce the first speaker of the team. The 3 speakers are Ranga Veeravalli, who is a mentor and the faculty advisor for this AGBI, who himself was an entrepreneur. And there is a CEO, Saurabh Chaubey, who is also will be talking, and one of our own graduates, both in the MBA program at Illinois Institute of Technology, valedictorian, #1 rank. And that lady by name Elizabeth Itikula will be also there. With that, let me introduce the first speaker to you, and the first speaker will introduce the second, and so on. The first speaker is Professor Ranga Veeravalli, who is the director of the executive MBA program. He is also the head of the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. He is also the mentor and a faculty of Great Lakes, and mentor and also the chief advisor for this AGBI. His bachelor's degree is in physics from Vivekananda College, master's in sociology from Annamalai. He has an intense 27 years of fabulous work experience all over the industry. He came to our place in the year 2007, I guess, and he also had a program degree from Cornell University in ILR on senior management program. So with that, let me transfer the baton to Veeravali, who will take you for the next 30 to 60 minutes. If there is any one question, I will be happy to answer.
Bala, can we? I think some of the questions pertain to the mechanics of funding and things like that. So I think it is best to leave these questions till the end. Yeah. So we will address it. Yeah. So I'll just hold off on these questions for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bala. Very good morning to all of you, mighty Marathas. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with all of you. Of course, my team, V25, I've been interacting, and likewise, I'm sure all my colleagues have also been interacting with their respective 30s and 25s, so we're all doing great work already. Let me quickly take you into this journey as to what we have been doing, which we have been doing for the last 13 years in the making with the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. So the overall theme is that the first 10 years we made good, and the next 10 years is to move from good to great and success to substance together. That's Bala's vision. Next slide, please. So as Dr. Bala clearly said, an incubator is the place to de-risk. It is to take a fledgling idea like a baby and then ensure that that baby gets all that it required to go out and then face this world. Same way here. And the principles and the processes and the systems and the design of all of that is geared toward this. And what is more, given our DNA, that we are now the vision of creating from goodness to greatness, we also would like to ensure that our startups also will come inbuilt with this greatness. So we say we will endeavor to incubate greatness. Next. And as you all have heard from Dr. Bala himself, GreatPlate itself is one of the greatest startups by design. And how did that happen? Next slide. And that is also what Bala himself said. See, we all dream at night, right? In the morning, we don't remember it. We move on. But there are some people out there in the world who dream in the day. And what is more, some of those not stop with the dreaming. They start pursuing that dream and it becomes a vision. Next slide, please. And the biggest example of that is Dr. Bala. So as we all know by now in various parts and things and by his own sharing today, this is the process in a way. Those who dream in the day, who get bitten by it, become passionate about it, it turns into a vision. When you persist with that, it grows. So that protagonist knows with no iota of doubt, even before the world knows, what he wants to do, what she wants to kind of create. And then the all-important thing of executing on that vision, as Bala famously says that a vision without execution is only hallucination. And so he taught us that the important thing is to go and do it. And as you do it, it starts becoming. And you persist with that till it becomes a being, and then be. So in a nutshell, you can say this is also a quick short DNA prescription or description of what entrepreneuring is all about, what an entrepreneur is all about. And I can't think of any other school that I know of where the founder himself is the greatest example of this entrepreneurship, who can also help us to, flesh and blood, understand the definition so immediately. And I also don't know of any other school where the founder himself is the biggest lesson with a master class. And what is more, he himself is teaching all of us as it is happening here. Next slide, please. And thus, it is our firm conviction that all of us, all of you, every year, are all an entrepreneurs by DNA. So it goes without saying that we all have the seed in us to create as nurture, and then manage, and then grow. As you can therefore understand that an MBA program teaches you not only to run an already created corporation or institution, but it also should teach you how to create it. And then go to the next one, please. And then stabilize it, and then break even, and then grow. And therefore, right from for the last 13 years now, the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship has been slowly building that part of the DNA and has been doing things, which is entirely run by you people. Every year, the SciComm is by, for, and of Great Lakers. Next slide, please. And here's your snapshot of, go back to the last, previous one, please. This is last year's group. You can see how handsome and how swag, what a swag with which they are all there, because they've been doing things. And what are the things they are doing? Next slide. So every year, these Paisa Vasool is the first Kickstart event, and it's an event which really energizes the entire campus. So it is simply put an idea of inviting every one of you to become an entrepreneur and live entrepreneur for 72 hours. So you actually live through the entire life cycle of entrepreneurship in microcosm, with only Great Lakes as your customers. And these are some of the snapshots. And it is what more, it makes puts real money and makes real money. And last year, the event, the students did a cumulative turnover of almost 5.5 lakhs rupees. And many of them actually more valuably had precious first-hand experience of the same. Next. And then do the year, these ideas which you have actually started kind of honing is given further boost by having our own competition first internally, and then a global competition by which to kind of drive this through and then shape it up. And then finally, the year culminates with the next slide, an international entrepreneurship conference where these successes are all celebrated, while we actually focus on one theme at a time in order to go deep into the various facets of entrepreneurship, the environment, and the dynamics of the whole thing. So all of these were happening, next slide, until this moment of truth arrived, when with Atal Innovation Mission becoming a reality, not only a reality, a dream reality, where a government function was led by a corporate leader. As you would be delighted to know, Dr. Ramanan, who heads it, is on secondment from the TCS, who's been a business leader there for many, many decades, and then is on secondment to drive this. You will be amazed if I tell you, but you should believe it, that it is run just like a corporation. And our experiences have been so good. And that's also the reason why we had the confidence to join hands. And then the rest, as I say, is a marker for future history. So go on, please. Next slide. On this red letter day, November 18, 2019, as we chose to call it, a star was born. Next slide. And this is that building in which this incubator is housed. And as you come to the campus, you will, of course, be seeing it in person. But let us give you a glimpse of it before I start showing that. Here are the two people who are at the core of it. Dr. Bala, of course, you know, and Mr. Mohan Lakamraju, the vice chairman and CEO, is the other, as you also know. These two people have come together to be the directors on the board, because it has to be a separate entity, and have made this entity come alive. So rightly, therefore, and they are perfect complements in every which way. More of it as you learn as you come closer and closer. Next slide. So what is AGBI? AGBI is not just another incubator. It has this crucial difference. It is a place where technology and management converge. Others are also doing. But where we are unique is we actually also have compassion joining hands and guiding our every action, which means we are possibly one of the few schools, even Great Lakes, you can say is the same DNA, where the head and the heart together come and take every decision. Move on to the next one. This is the team. While I'm there in the background, Saurabh is the CEO. Saurabh is an IIM graduate, and impressively, he was leading the country's second largest incubator till we actually located him and convinced him to come on board here. He was there as a COO and then a CEO. So we had someone who had hands-on experience working at the highest level also, both with the corporates and with the government coming on board. As you know, the Chhattisgarh's incubator, the government created and professionally run. Elizabeth, of course, Dr. Bala introduced you. She is a star student graduate in our technology technopreneurship program at IIT Chicago. And then Narmada is the senior manager operations. She is again our own product. She is, has an MBA from Great Lakes and had been the executive assistant in the dean's office and comes with the rich experience of executing things. So this is a crackshot team that I'm so happy to be working with. And they will be, two of them will be talking to you today. The other lady is present there, and she will actually be with you every day of the year that you'll be here when you'll be doing work. That is Narmada. Next slide. So the inauguration was a star-studded affair with two very senior bureaucrats. Of course, Dr. Ramanan, as you can see, is in the picture, in the Mori court, and Dr. Somanathan, who stands next to him, is again a stellar bureaucrat with a PhD in economics, been with the World Bank and so on. And there was a host of corporates who were there on that whole day, so that it became a memorable one. Next one.
Somanathan is actually the current Revenue Secretary in the Ministry of Finance under Nirmala Sitharaman.
He's considered to be one of the best brains the government has today. Next one, next slide. Here's a quick snapshot of it. The second floor of that building that you saw is where we are located. You have the offices followed by innovation lab, tinkering lab, AI and ML lab, and then the multimedia lab and co-working space. Some snapshots of them. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. This is how it looks at the entrance. This is the entrance of the building. As you can see in close-up, this entire building is dedicated to the memory of Sri Lakamraju Achyutarama, who is Mr. Mohan's father and who valued education above all else. And it's only fitting that this should house our incubator too. Next slide. So this is the entrance. As you can see, Dr. Bala with Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the person in whose commemoration it is whose dream to drive entrepreneurship, which was ably executed now. And Dr. Bala there at the time, or the memorable time of his Padma Shri, as I believe, and where the seeds of these things found exchange there. Next slide. These are the meeting rooms. Next. This is where the innovation lab is. This is the space where all your ideations take place. Next. And this is where the tinkering lab has a bunch of things where you actually convert your idea into a prototype, into a concept, and then you take it to the market to start validating through agile and lean and other methods which you're going to describe in a minute. Next. The AML lab is the other unique thing. It's a state-of-the-art artificial intelligence and machine learning lab at the investment of nearly ₹500 crore. It's a state-of-the-art. It can handle about 18 to 20 teams working on cutting-edge ideas and products applications in entrepreneurship. Next. This is created hand in hand with Virtusa as our partner. Next. The multimedia lab is going to be one which will be future ready. It is about to be set up. This is a concept snapshot, but all these specs are ready and then it's about to roll out. When the COVID interrupted us, as soon as the campus becomes accessible, we will have this completed in a few days so that by the time you all come here, this will also be available, as I said, future ready. Next. And shared working spaces will look like this next. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, is the incubator that awaits you. Next. And this is the conceptual overview. We have dedicated to focus on 5 verticals, right? Fintech, EduTech, HealthTech, AgriTech, and ecology and energy tech. And all of them are horizontally, differentially enabled with the emerging technologies, which, as you know, has been acronymed as AIM Lab today. It will continue to be emerging technologies focused as the technologies emerge. And the compassion or the heart element is to look for ventures which will be at the cutting edge in the technology on the one end, cutting edge at management, which is our own forte, and filled with compassion. Next. Thus, the conceptual framework of the DNA is driven through these 3 pairs of things. One is innovation and design thinking. Second is lean and agile. And third is technology readiness levels and investment readiness levels, which are concepts which are created by the NASA and what's his name?
Steve Blank.
Steve Blank. Okay, move on. As you know, innovation is the mother of all, where the technology, business, and human values converge with the conditions of feasibility, viability, and usability and desirability. Move on, next. Next. Design thinking, the previous one, yeah. And design thinking is the systematic way in which we go about translating an insight with the customer to a tested outcome. And this is standardized now. Stanford took the lead. All the other Ivy Leagues and the best of the brains worked on it. So this is very much a robust model, which we have adapted to our own country, as we will be sharing later when you are in with us. Move on. Next. And as you can see, they also integrate. As I'll show in the next slide, the first 3 to integrate are design thinking, lean, and agile. What is the logic of them? Exploring the problem, building the right things, and building them right. Next. This is the expansion of that thing, which Gartner actually put together in the slide. As you can see, the first part is problem solving, as you can see on the top. The second one is execution and solution. And the whole thing moves between concrete and abstract, as you can see in this axis, and driven by design thinking first to systematically ideate, and then take it to a lean startup where through systematic experimentation, you actually translate that into a solution, and then you execute it in an agile and a quick manner and a lean manner in order to kind of take it to a proof of concept and beyond. Next. And finally, this forms the kind of a overall, the kind of a motherboard on which everything sits. The left-hand side is the TRL, which is famously created by NASA and is considered to be kind of a gold standard in doing systematic development for products and projects and systems, which was adapted and articulated beautifully by Steve Blank, one of the biggest names in entrepreneurship, by the same 9 steps progress. The details of this we will drill in as you are, I think we intend to have a follow-up possible couple, 2-module workshop, virtual workshop sometime in July, August, in working closely with the Professor Sanjay to decide when these aspects we will drill down and take you all through, and that is going to be available to all of you to come and kind of merge into. The idea is to translate an idea to a world-class implemented product or a business now. Next one. Now here is where things become proprietary. And this, as you see, gentlemen, is the abstract or a synthesis of everything that I talked about into a very powerful DNA that you're looking at. And that is called the 6G model. And rightly, this was put together or synthesized by Dr. Bala himself, guiding all of us and given a visible shape and a seamless kind of a flow as well. At this point, I invite Saurabh as the CEO. As you can see, Dr. Bala talked about the overall vision. I actually took you through the policy level of it. Now, Saurabh will come in, befitting as the CEO to take you through the strategy and the plans. And then Elizabeth as the COO in the making, as Assistant Director Operations, will then take you through the operation. That is what is in store, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to invite the ever-smiling, beautiful Saurabh to come on board. Incidentally, before I hand over, you will be the people, when you are here, it's likely that Saurabh will get married. We all kind of wish him that he will do that next year. Saurabh, it's all yours.
Many thanks to Professor Veeravalli for giving us introduction. And yeah, if you can go back to the previous slide. Yeah. So I'm very excited, friends, to introduce you to the incubation model of AGBI. As all of you know that for behind every successful or great company, there lies a secret formula like Coca-Cola has, or Japanese auto manufacturing company has Kaizen processes. Similarly, we are also fortunate to have that secret recipe or the formula with us, which Dr. Balachandran has given us in a form of 6G model of incubation. And also beneath that model, if you can see in the graph, we have the another layer of the processes, which is the 6I process. And if you see, you have heard about design thinking, lean and agile methodologies. Dr. Bala has actually brought all those tools of entrepreneurship into a one model, and that is a 6G model, where he has combined all of them to create the maximum value out of it. I will take you through this, the beautiful model. Guys, if you, before I start with this model, I would like you to take your attention to the core of this model. If you look at the innermost circle, you will see a very familiar words like Mata, Pita, Guru, and Devam. So this is basically the role an incubator is going to play in any startup's journey, starting with as a Mata to that startup, then moving to a patronized Pita, and then guiding Guru, and then finally enabling Devam. So that is the role which we will be playing along each of the stages. Now we have the 6 stages, 6 Gs, the gate, gauge, guide, grow, graduate, and generate. And behind every stage, there is a particular process, set of activities and operations, which are the 6 Is. I will take you through each one of them, one by one. Guys, if you look at the first stage, that is a gate stage. So this stage will ensure that if you get into this incubator, you will, alongside with you, you will find the best of the mind, best of the problem solvers of this country, because we are going to put the best practices to select the best problem solver of the country. And that is what we have taken from with our collaboration with the international incubators, academic institutions. And after that, all research, we came up with that model. The another thing, if you have noticed in design thinking part, you must have seen that there is what is defined as you need to first brainstorm about the idea. You have to first empathize with the customer. You have to define the problem, and then you have to basically work with the problem. So that is what we have brought all these things together at this stage. We thought that why not to ask the customer first before bringing the startups on board. Let's first ask the customer, the corporates, the government, the end users, first them what they need. So that's why we have designed a grand challenge method of incubation, which I will talk more about in the coming slide. So we asked them about their requirement. Then we bring those requirements to the startup, the innovators, to students in form of problem statements, in form of grand challenges, in form of hackathons, which they can work upon, and then finally empathize with what customer needs. If then they define what is their solution is going to be, and then finally ideate about what the whole startup structure will be. So that is the stage, the gate stage, where we will going to take the best of the ideas through that. If you see that behind that gate, there is a process of ideation, which is of course dependent heavily upon the design thinking. So that's how the first stage will be taken over. Once we take in a startup based on the merit of the idea and the scalability and feasibility of that idea to grow, we take them to the next stage of gauging the risk. So at this stage, our chief mentor sits with the startup. He talks about the idea, and then he assessment based on his long industrial experience and leadership. He'd understand that what could be different kind of risk associated with the idea, and then he lists down what measures we can take to de-risk that idea, and then he gives it to the startup again. We along work with the startup again to make sure that now they de-risk their idea again and make sure that the idea is completely ready to go for incubation. So they might go back to the gate stage again, work upon the idea, pivot the model if required, and then again come back to the gate stage, finally to clear that stage itself. And you see that there behind the gate stage, there is the process of iteration. So we have to keep doing that until unless the idea is completely de-risked. So that we make sure that you have listened, Dr. Bala, about the lean methodologies. So we make sure that when you are going forward, you are lean, and as well as you are de-risked your idea completely of all possible risk and ventures. So now when you go to that, the startup goes to the gate stage, when they get into the guide stage. Now at this stage, basically the idea starts converting into the product. If you can see that, that's where we actually start helping them through our tinkering lab, AIML lab, multimedia lab, and that's how with the whole environment of this innovative environment, we start helping them to create prototypes, to create a simulation around their products, to give them an opportunity to scenario planning and do some strategies, and then to give them an opportunity to taste market their product. So that once they get into the next stage, they will be ready with the exact idea what actually they are going to achieve. So with that, you can see behind the guide, there lies the process of innovation. And once they go through this stage, they go to the next stage of grow. So that is the growth stage, is basically where we have our accelerated incubation program, where it lies 90 days of program, where we work closely with the startup to basically develop their go-to-market strategy and to develop how they are going to scale their idea on a larger scale. And friends, that is where we are working. That is the importance of the incubator. We want to build more and more unicorn or unicorn sort of the incubator. We make sure that we should generate the greater wealth and the social value for our country. So in the growth stage, we have a different kind of support services, whether it's legal help or technology help or in kind of any market resources required if they require a kind of market connect. And then of course, the inputs from the investor side, we make sure that the startup gets all of that. So once that they go through that growth stage and qualify to go to the next stage, that is a graduate. The graduate is the stage where the startup finally gets to stabilize its operation. It's ready to global. Dr. Bala says we should have a global minds and the Indian roots. And that is what we want to achieve with that. We want to take our startups to on a global level to solve problems anywhere and with any resources. And once they achieve that stage of that, they basically get graduate out of the incubator and goes to the next stage, that is the generator stage. And that is the generator stage, if you can see at the external layer of the model, it's a global market. So that is where we want to generate more greater economic value, greater social value for the whole of the society. And that will be then the startup work as the alumni of the AGBI, and we keep supporting them in form of the market connect or investor connects. Yeah, please go to the next slide. So I will, as I discussed about the incubation, the process, if you see that behind that, every process has to be go through a timeline. So that is how, just like a human baby goes through an incubator, like, from the birth to the stage where he becomes a self-sustainable human being. Similarly, we have the incubation program where it has different stages. If you see that from the beginning of that, if you can recall the design thinking, ideate, the seed stage, where we actually put the seed in form of the problem statements or the challenges into the mind of entrepreneurs. And then the entrepreneur identify the customer pains and then find the market gap where he can pitch it. Then we give them resources to germinate all those the ideas into a lean business model canvas so that it has a concrete plan to execute on. And then it gets into the pre-incubate format where we fertilize the model with the concept and to help them in achieving their minimum viable product, to achieve that product market fit, and then finally to size their market. Once it fertilized enough, we get them into an incubate mode where we stabilize their operation. We help them to pilot their project. We help them to build up their supply side or the market side, go-to-market strategies, and then the repeat sale break-evens. And once after that, once the startup is stabilized, it goes to the accelerate mode, where the grow mode, it has to now exponentially grow itself. And it requires the funding. If funding is required, we are there to help them to get that funding also. Yeah, and that's finally when it's grown enough, we make them go to the world and the global market to compete. Now we will talk about now like any startup or any product, incubator also has to be differentiated. There are several incubators in the world, and so we are a new one compared to them. But how? We are very different. We are taking a very different approach, just like Great Lakes Institution. We are also going to create a very different path ourselves. We already are achieving a lot of milestones in that. And how we are doing that, ensuring that we are different. The first thing, friends, let me introduce you, India's first business school, which has a deep technology incubator. So given the prodigy which we have, the AIM Lab, we are blessed to have that, the DNA in us. So that is a very unique thing, a business school having a deep technology incubator. You can imagine what kind of startups we can produce out of it. Then there are very few incubators which can boast about the kind of the international engagement which we have with our academic partners or the corporates. And also we give our startups the opportunity to immerse themselves with the international incubators or international ecosystem. And that is what makes us a very different than others. And I have talked about about our gate stage, where we bring the grand challenges and bring our corporate partners, technology partners, investment partners, which are at a very different stage and scale, which gives them large boost to take their idea to the next level. And then on the process side, we have discussed about how we de-risk the ideas, how we validate the idea at every stage, and then pivot if required that idea. And having the advantage of being in a residential accelerated incubator, we have that opportunity to have teams from different locations of India working different ideas to work together and brainstorm different things together and all. And now at the last, we have talked a lot about the social value, how we are creating it. So that is, we have started based on, you might have heard about the Karma Yoga. So based similarly on that node, we are also having our own inclusive venture program, that is a Kartavya. My friend and colleague Elizabeth will discuss more about that. That is how we are differentiated than the others. Next slide, please. Now I will talk about I have discussed about the grand challenges. So basically to take the customer's pain points to understand what they require. And now you all know that today is a trend of B2B businesses. The corporates are now becoming the biggest customer for startups. So that is how we are now taking the approach. We go to corporates, we have many partnerships just like that. And then we ask them what are their pain point challenges. Then we formulate them onto our own template and then make it available to all the startups. And then you can see that the whole process, it's all 180 days process where a startup comes with an idea, it's being shortlisted, then being groomed, again mentored, then the winners come on board. And then after the winners are announced, the next 120 days, we are going to work with the startup, the corporate partner, the technology partner, and the investment partner to ensure that the solution given by startup goes up to the industry expectations. So that is a very unique approach. Very few of the incubators in the world are actually able to do this. And we already have done for Fintech, and we are now currently doing it for HealthTech. Next slide. Yeah. And now you must be curious about, about the number of startups and what the statistics about this incubator. So I will take you through now with all this. Friends, we have already 1 year old incubator, but we have already incubated 22 startups. In the history of incubation centers in India, first time there is an incubator which in the first year itself have graduated 4 other startups. And we have helped them, our startup, to raise funds of 73.5 crores. With a valuation of, we have the cumulative valuation of our startup at 270 crore. We have already onboarded 10 investors as a partner to us, 150 mentors, and 17 corporate partners. And our startup have, in return of that, startup have generated 156 employment and given generated revenue of 216 lakhs. That is for any startup, which is with only 1 year of journey, is a phenomenal in terms of that. Next slide. Yeah. Now, any success cannot be achieved without great ecosystem partners. And particularly for incubator, we require a different kind of ecosystem partners. And we have onboarded all of them. You can see the all international and national organizations as to be partnered with us, whether it's the Babson University, Illinois Institute of Technology, or SMU as IIT Madras academic partner, or whether investors like Chennai Angel, Collegium Group, Let's Venture, and whether industry organizations like FICCI, CIA, NESCOM, and then ecosystem partners like Wadhwani, Hacker Earth, and many more. So this is the ecosystem partners. Within a very few of time, we have got so many partners because of our brand credibility. Next slide. Yeah, now I would like to talk about our Merki graduates. So this is, the AGBI is one of the first incubator in India, which has within a year of inception, graduated 4 of startup with a big success. Dr. Bala has already discussed about Whistle Drive, which within a year graduation, he has raised a fund of $10 million with a valuation of more than 220 crores. You can see the Asuvia Technology, which has raised ahead of thousands of startups to win Atal New India Challenge and the prize money of 1 crore by the government. He's already delivering projects to government and many corporates. The Smart Trees, which have received the most innovative startup award and designed a very unique and innovative IoT product for industries. And then the Crowd Designs, the Rebin, he's already has a very stable startup, and also during this COVID-19 time, he has played an instrumental role by manufacturing a lot of PPE kits and supplying it to government. And now when I talked about the COVID-19, you all know that this is a big problem came up. It all shook up government, corporates, and all in all. But like this is a time when the problem comes, the startup have the greater opportunity, and that's what our startups did. I would like to talk about some of our startups, what they are doing in this COVID period to make people's life easier. So the first one I would like to talk about, Brain Boom, our startup. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the startup Brain Boom. You all know that everyone is job, particularly in job market, everyone is struggling a lot. People are losing their job, and also, just imagine for people who are living in rural areas, what is scenario? What would be a scenario for them? But the Brain Boom came up with this, so to use basically to take opportunity of this time to basically give training to this rural youth, so that once this COVID period will be over, they will have the job in their hand. They have the capabilities and skills to get into the job. And meanwhile, these organizations, if you can see on the Dell, Lebanon, and those kind of big organizations, if they should have access to the capable and skilled people, so they have developed a digital job training platform in vernacular languages for the youth to get trained on employable skill sets. So that's how they are contributing to the economy. The next startup which we have is doing phenomenal work is Wangi. You guys know that today is banking is particularly in this COVID period, it is difficult to get into a bank, of course, and then the fear of transmission of COVID to the physical checks. So he came up with a solution of digital checks, and for small and medium enterprises, where anyone can actually give even the post-dated checks, digital checks to anyone else anywhere in India through the Wangi platform. So that's how, and he has already been partnered with ICICI Bank, and across India, he's getting a phenomenal response for this product. The next startup which I would like to talk about, Finara. You must have seen on TV screen that migrant workers, how much turmoil they are facing and the hardship they have to face. Finara is working towards making their life easier by giving them a remittance solution, which will be anywhere, can install standalone anywhere, and then this migrant can basically digitally remittance their money to their loved ones at their villages. That is how, this is a few of the cases which how our startup have come up very rapidly. Within a 3-month period of time, they came up with this kind of product. The other startup are also giving their beats. So that is how the startup ecosystem actually help country to tackle their challenges and all. So that is all from my side, friends. I would now like to invite my colleague, Ms. Elizabeth Edicula, who is the head of our operation at Incubator. And basically, she looks after all our incubation programs, student engagement, and to make sure that every startup is ready for investment. Yeah. Now, giving a hand over to Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you, Saurabh. So as a graduate, it is really my honor and privilege to be here today to address you. I jokingly say that the incubator is my first baby as I've worked for it since I graduated. But I want to assure you that from this day on, I will always be available to you and I'm just a WhatsApp away. Also, as a graduate, I want to appeal to you at this time to use this unique time with your classmates who literally represent every industry and skill set imaginable going by your class profile to ideate and co-create. And if you have to put it in the back burner until you're ready to attend to it full time, but use this opportunity. So now that we have a good understanding of the incubator, its purpose, its structure, its track record, I would like to throw light on the areas of engagement that we have designed with you in mind. So take copious notes. Yeah. So SciComm is one of the oldest means by which Great Lakes endeavors to evangelize and nurture entrepreneurship among the student community. And SciCommers are those students with a keen interest in entrepreneurship, many of them with startup experiences themselves or aspiring entrepreneurs. So they are charged with the responsibility of running all the CIE calendar events with very little hand-holding, such as Paisa Vasool, Hyperion, and International Entrepreneurship Conference that we just looked at. But this year onwards, CIE is formally expanded to include AGBI as part of the new CIE AGBI committee, where the committee students will now also work closely with AGBI to run the AGBI calendar events, assist AGBI startups, and also help the incubator operations and get priority treatment with respect to their own startup idea. So if this speaks to you, I really encourage you to apply to SciComm when the time arrives. And it's pretty much the best club, if I do say so myself. So if you decide to incubate your startup with AGBI during your year with us or as an alumni, you will be assured of end-to-end support regardless of the stage of your idea, whether it is at idea stage, prototype, go-to-market, or revenue, and you will receive the full spectrum of support from until you receive pre-series or Series A investment or are financially sustainable. You will have access to all the state-of-the-art incubation facilities at AGBI, the innovation lab, the prototyping facilities, the tinkering lab, AI/ML lab, multimedia studio, and shared working spaces. You will also receive training with respect to startup fundamentals, business investment, technology, IP, and so much more. Now, our mentoring program is quite unique. It is designed to provide 360-degree mentorship, wherein each startup is assigned mentors from across various categories: technology, business, industry, investment, and a mentor coach with own startup experience who can work with you much like a coach of a basketball team. And we do this through a process of matchmaking based on your needs, the challenges that you currently face, your stage, and other factors. Now, AGBI offers startup access to seed funds from 5 lakhs to 25 lakhs per startup, as well as leverages our ecosystem connects to provide you with access to angel investors and VCs for seed, pre-series, and series investment. And now, while pitching, we understand in front of investors may seem challenging, but this is where AGBI will work with you and prepare you for these meetings from a due diligence standpoint, from a mentoring standpoint. AGBI, of course, has a wide, vast network, and we will leverage that network to provide you access to almost any individual or organization of strategic importance to your startup. The current startup ecosystem is active and thriving with numerous startup events on a daily basis, and we will give you priority and discounted access to these. We also understand that running a startup is challenging. And so to help you focus on what you do best, we will take the onus of the legal and compliance aspects from you by providing you business support services like accounting, tax, legal, CS, and much more. So while this list of support service seems extensive already, but I assure you that it is constantly growing as we endeavor to serve the individual needs of our startups in a customized manner. Now we had a look at the floor plan, but I just want to mention that the incubator has been carefully designed with you in mind to be a place that brings out your creative energy and passion. It's green, it's well lit, it's colorful, and it's open round the clock. And it's designed to be a space for ideating and building. And what's great about it is that it's located right in the center of campus. So after a long day, if you think you're ready to go to bed, head on over to the incubator instead and get ideating. Our innovation lab is this massive space which no shortage of post-its and easel boards, and literally no space is off limits for you to scribble on, to plan, to sketch and brainstorm. There are tools for design thinking readily available, and it is a space where you can ideate and co-create with your friends who possibly will become your co-founders. The Tinkering Lab allows you as our startup to create low to medium fidelity prototypes with the intention of developing something simple and showcaseable to your potential customers for the initial feedback, which is very important as per the lean methodology. So given our AIM-led focus, we have 3D printers, we have drone kits, IoT devices, Raspberry Pis, Arduino boards, circuit making kits, and so much more. As our startup, you will have access to the state-of-the-art AI/ML lab, which is also the Great Lakes Virtuosa Center of Excellence in AI/ML, and hence comes equipped with every industry-ready hardware and software possible for all applications, as well as we will be providing with remote access. The future-ready multimedia lab for AR/VR applications. You can make explainer videos, marketing videos, animations for e-learning, which is a powerful tool, and tools for gaming startups and much more. The other engagement areas is you have a hands-on Incubate Your Future Now course. We'll invite you to participate in investor sessions to really put your knowledge and understanding of valuation and finance to practice. You can have access to hackathons and grand challenge sessions. We also have a credit course for students, a startup investment simulation game, the opportunity to consult for startups, business plan competitions in each quarter, and then of course guest lectures by powerful entrepreneurs and experts each month. So I'm very pleased to share with you here a preview of an important initiative that we have developed called AGBI Kartavya. AGBI believes that in order to bring change, inclusive growth, and high value and social impact, the incubator and its startups must stand on compassion. And thus AGBI Kartavya was created. It is a logical extension of Karma Yoga, and it is built to complement it and to complete it. Uncle Bala conceived Karma Yoga as the social intervention and mission by us to create social value and social capital, which is so critical as a raw material to help the base of the pyramid, to give them health, education, employability, happiness towards self-sustenance and self-sufficiency. Now, Kartavya is our socio-economic intervention that will go hand in hand with Karma Yoga as KY, KV, to create economic value and economic capital, so that together they form a seamless symbiosis for socio-economic upliftment, self-sufficiency, and self-respect to a larger India. So the goal for KV and KY is to create social value and social capital, economic value and economic capital towards inclusive prosperity, where people move from a state of dependency to a state of self-sufficiency and then independence. So much alike to the father-mother situation, while KY is the mother whose heart is for the happiness and the welfare of her children, Kartavya is the father who seeks success for himself and his family, and to pass on that success as a legacy to his children such that they are economically prosperous for generations. And so together, KV and KY work in perfect, beautiful harmony and symbiosis. The target segments here include those that are most vulnerable to being excluded from economic prosperity, like women and girls, but also employable youth, students, small business owners who are struggling to survive in today's market, and as well as sectors that are characteristic of the Mahabalipuram and Chennai region that we are located in, such as artisanal and textiles, agri, rural tourism, fishing, marine. Now here too is a scope for your engagement, where we will work with you to map the village economy for each of these villages, help us identify the pain points for each village, create a database of micro ventures across the villages, support AGBI in conducting the training programs, and support AGBI and in micro venture entrepreneurs in deploying their solution. As Verghese Kurian rightly said, India's place in the sun would come only from the partnership between the wisdom of its rural people and the skill of its professionals. And that is what we stand behind. So at this point, we want to request you to make yourself known to us, whether you have an idea already or whether you are just interested and want to check us out. We want you to go ahead onto your emails. You should have received a link by now. Go ahead and click on it and fill up your details so that when we launch our events, we will keep you in mind and keep you updated. But also for our students here, we give you a fast track incubation process if you register yourself with us through this form. These really are our founding principles, our pillars: technology, management, and compassion. And that really makes us an inclusive incubator with a difference. And we invite you to be a part of it. And now we are created for you. You are our customer. And so now at this point, we would like to hear your voice and your questions. And now I hand over to Suresh sir for the question.
Yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth. And so, yeah, you know, a lot of the questions, I think I have binned them into a few, categories. So the first set of questions pertains to funding, which is, I think, obviously on everybody's mind. How do we get funds and so on and so forth? So I'm going to, so I have a question from Swapnil, who says that, yeah, you know, we are taking a 20 lakh loan for a PGPM. How can I now, get finance to start the company on top of the loan that I'm taking?
Yes, sir. So I would like to answer that question.
Yeah.
Something that's right to for a student, particularly MBA student, there is a burden of the loan which he has to pay. But like with my experience, I think the business school actually is the best place to actually to start your venture, because you now at the B school you get a vast network available to you. Otherwise, once you graduate, you may not have access to that many great minds and great people at the same place. That is the most important part for any startup is the people, the resources. You have the employee of those resources available to you. And then the second thing, of course, the funding. Let me assure you that if you have a great idea and a great team in place, funding will never be a problem for you. We have enough investors on board with us. We have our own seed fund, also with support from the Niti Aayog, and access to many of the investors. So once you have a good idea developed with all due diligences, definitely you will get an investor to invest in your idea.
I'd like to add a couple of points there. So, Apnil, before we actually burn money, we should actually leverage many other sources with which you can actually advance your business without spending money itself. The greatest source of that, for example, is yourselves and your partners and your customers. So as we go deeper into it, this whole process is called effectuation, which has been actually articulated by a very, very fine world-class faculty called Dr. Saras Saraswati of Darden School, Virginia Tech. She is again an Indian, we all can be proud about. So basically, she showed how in real life, real entrepreneurship, money need not be hurriedly spent. And there are many, many other resources which are non-monetary, which can still move it. For example, I'll just give you a small example and stop here. The startup team itself is the greatest source. Now, you form a team of founding or co-founding team, not only because you are classmates or schoolmates, you have the common family theme or great chemistry. You also carefully bring people together who together can do a lot of these things without having to go and spend money to get it done. Archetypally, there are 4 minds required in a great startup. One is an innovative and creative mind. The second is a strategic thinking mind. Third is a great market engaging and the customer demand generating mind. Fourth is a financial mind. So you have a demand side, you have a supply side, you have a creative and a strategic thinking side, and you have the hard-nosed money side. Now you can see that an ideal founding team or a founding group, if it can have all of these, they don't have to go and hire. So, and so on and so forth. I'm giving you a tip like this, but having said all this, as the thing said, this is the very beauty of the Atal Innovation Mission's joining. They have anticipated the factors which cause failure or hardships which create failure, money included. So therefore, seed capital is something which is inbuilt and programmed, both by us and Atal, to actually support as well as bring in from outside through angels. So rest assured that if you have, as Saurabh correctly said, if you have a winning idea, money is not going to be an issue, and we are there. More we can take offline.
Yeah. Thank you, Ranga. Okay, on the same theme, I have a couple more questions on funding. One is, let me see where it is. What if it is not possible to put family money? So, Dr. Bala talked about, putting some, having our own family investing in this. And so I think the concern is, if we don't have any of our own money to invest, where can we get funding?
Yeah, so typically, like, why is the need of the family money? Of course, an investor or anyone wants you to put your best effort to bring in, basically, the need for putting in that. That shows your own confidence, that how much confidence you have in your own idea. But again, of course, if you have a problem in arranging that fund from your own family or that way, that's fine. As I said, that you need basically the three things that makes a great startup: the people, the idea, and the resources, which is the money, of course. If you have two out of the three things, the third thing will automatically come to you. That is for sure. There are many examples out there where the founders were not from so great family background or what, but they have achieved. People believed in them because of their abilities and their idea.
I'll add to reinforce this point that Saurabh referred to. See, the key thing for anyone, for a minute, you move to the other side. Imagine yourself to be a non-family investor you want to attract to put money. Why would you put your money into a setup, or when will you put your money into that setup? You will do it on two counts. One, you see a winning idea. Two, or more importantly, you see people who can make that idea happen. Now that has got, again, two parts. One is their ability from a technology and a management point. Second is what is famously called as a skin in the game. At any point in time, this is a non-negotiable qualification of a founder. That is, of all the stakeholders, the founding team must show and demonstrate that they have the highest level of skin in the game. And that need not be by money.
Okay. Thank you. A couple of questions, I think, related to business support, the kind of support that we would provide. So Naman Jaga asks, what will Great Lakes assist in incorporation of the company in terms of product rights and so on, and what percentage will the college take, if there's an idea that goes through?
I think Elizabeth.
Yeah, sure, Naman. So definitely we will assist you with incorporation. And in terms of the equity model, so we look at it as match to the amount of effort that we as an incubator have to exert towards your business. So if you are at an idea stage, definitely there's a long way ahead, in which case we're looking at about 5% ballpark. But if you go on to a revenue stage, then it's much lower as 2% in that ballpark. And so this is sort of the range that we will work in. And this is why it is very critical to share all the information that you have about your startup idea so that we can really assess how much of what is the real need from our side and then decide accordingly. But compared to the industry, we are actually much below the industry standards in terms of the equity model. And we have purposefully kept this equity model because it's a win-win. Only when you succeed do we succeed. So we do not take a fee. We want to make sure that there is a complete alignment of interest.
And to add to that, you need to actually go a little deeper to catch the spirit behind this. It is not you versus us. We are not an outsider to take your money or your ownership. We are your extended partner, right? And at any point in time, whatever is the kind of a stake that she's talking about will be lesser in value than what you get. And that is, we are committed to, because you are not just an outsider. You are part of us. It's like you asking your parent, how much of my earning tomorrow you will take from me? No, we don't want to take anything at all if we can help it. We want you to prosper. You are an incubator. We are an incubator. You must appreciate that sentiment. And that is, I'm not saying it for the sake of saying. This is the philosophy and spirit, and this is our mindset.
Thank you. Okay, related to that, here's Priya, who says, I have an idea, but it needs a lot of deep market research. So will we get help with that, going forward?
Yeah, definitely, Divya. That is all things is in place to help you out carrying out such kind of research. There will be sessions on how to conduct those research, and then also the experts will be there who will help you in doing that. I think Elizabeth can add points to it.
Yeah, also, as you go through the course, MBA course, you will get exposed to market research and the techniques. And this is a great way for you to employ those techniques to your own business idea. And later on, also reach out to help the startups that are incubated with us who do not have the benefit of an MBA background to work on their project like a consultant.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Couple of questions now related to the ideas themselves, the type of ideas that AGBI will support. So I have one question where it says that can we go forward with existing startups with assistance from AGBI? So I already have something going on, and would I be able to go forward with it? And this is by Haynes Matthew. And then I will follow that up with another question, which says, which is Suruchi, who asks, if we have an idea, but it has already been implemented elsewhere in the world, can we still go ahead? So in other words, it's an idea that is not currently available in India, but it might have been implemented elsewhere. Will AGBI also support ideas like that? Maybe you can address both these questions.
Yeah. So basically, if you talk about, if you have already an existing startup, that's great. You're most welcome. We would love to help you in carrying forward it. Definitely, it will be there. And also, if you have thinking about executing an idea which has already been in another part of the world, we would love to support you, given that you are ready to adopt that model to in Indian context or in any other context, and also to make sure that basically the success of a startup is only dependent on 5% of the idea, and the rest of the 95% is about the execution of the idea. So even if you're borrowing an idea from somewhere else, at least, again, you are going to have the 95% of the part to execute. So if you are proficient in that and efficient in doing that, we would love to help you.
I could just quickly add to this. So we will also work with you to help you differentiate it. So that is where we bring in our mentors, we bring in our expert faculty to identify areas where you can that you can differentiate it and also patent it, because you don't want to be limited to this geography. You want to be able to go global if you have to, and so this is one way in which we can make that happen.
Okay, awesome. A lot of concerns about, one is, when people come to campus to begin with, you're already asking them, you need to start, thinking about ideas. And there is one concern that has been expressed that, how can I trust and confide my, about my idea with people I don't even know? And, is 1 year too short a time to actually start farming, something, meaningful?
Lisa, would you like to answer it? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So about the 1 year, now, regardless of which stage you are at, we are confident, like Saurabh ran us through the incubation timeline. We are confident that in that 1 year, we can get you to the market or get you pre-series. So it really depends on which stage you are at. And about the trust and confidence, like Professor said, that we are the same family. We are here to work with you and support you, and really entrepreneurship is a challenge, and if you need support, and if you think that you'll be able to do this by yourself, perhaps you can, but it'll be a really long, hard road. And so when we are here as family to offer that support, like, I would advise that you reach out and grab it. When it comes to sharing with mentors or externals, if that is a concern, we understand that, and which is why we have systems in place, like we'll have our mentors and externals sign NDA forms, a non-disclosure agreement, so that whatever critical information or your secret sauce stays secret. And we'll also show you ways by which you can talk about your idea without revealing too much about it, because that in itself is a skill. That's what we will help you with.
I want to add one counterintuitive point. Now, why are you actually even looking out? That is because you know that if you are in a position to move on, as Elizabeth said, you will move on yourself, number one. Secondly, when you don't know what you need help, right? This is the second thing. Third, the world over, entrepreneurship is not a new thing. It has been on. So one of the fundamental point here is to overcome this anxiety or move it from an irrational to a rational platform. So to say that, can I trust anyone is not perhaps the best way to look at it. To say, how do I go about sharing what need to be shared? Do I have necessary assurances at each of those stages? And why would this person be working with me? Look at all those motives. And good news to you is, these are all questions which have been long dealt with by the systems. And we have, in fact, it will be appropriate for me to share here, Elizabeth, after she graduated from Chicago, actually stayed on for almost 2 months and visited not less than about 25 top incubators there. And we did a benchmarking study on the best practices based on which the AGBI was actually designed. And when we looked at next practices. So you can kind of start a conversation with us offline. We'll address specifics of that. Bottom line, there are solutions which can give you full comfort.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And just to add one more point. So just one last point. Don't forget that this is an incubator jointly supported by Government of India, Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission. So we are not only Great Lakes, but also Niti Aayog is going to support you. So we have that responsibility, and
Excellent. Thank you, Saurabh, and Elizabeth and Ranga. Related question to this, I think again, in terms of who can you collaborate with? Does it have to be with people from Great Lakes, or can I collaborate with other people outside? I may know students at other universities or colleges, or with friends and relatives. Would I be able to come up with ideas and then nurture them through AGBI?
Short answer, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So nothing limits them to only collaborating with Great Lakes students. They can collaborate with anyone of their choice.
We are a platform.
Yeah, it's a platform. Exactly.
Actually, better said, we are a bridge to the world.
Perfect. Okay. Another question related again is, what if I am not ready to start up right away? Can I come back as an alumnus to start? Is AGBI available? How long is it going to be available to us to start up an idea?
We will be there forever, but we would suggest you to make sure that within a 4 or 5 years of period of time after graduating, you will have that idea idea and you are willing to start that thing, because that's we believe is a perfect time, because you don't have that much responsibility before 30 or maybe in that, depend on the family scenario. So that would be a great time. But anyway, we are anytime we are available here.
Excellent. So go ahead. Yeah.
This question perhaps has at the root of it a certain conception. AGBI is not for only Great Lakes students. In fact, AGBI is primarily a society-facing incubator, as we have described. Our own alum, our own students, etc., form a very important constituents of beneficiaries, which means that this is forever. You can come anytime. As long as the AGBI is around, you can walk in and then start the journey, number one. Number two, the best of the B schools on the world measure entrepreneurial contribution, value, and success by the rubric of how many of their classes have started on their own and gone and become entrepreneurs on a 5-year horizon. At the end of 5th year, they measure. That is actually the global index that has been taken. So you have a horizon which you can take.
Thank you. Okay. Couple more questions, and then I think we can probably end it. And then if other people have other questions, they can, they can go ahead. Clearly, there's a lot of interest and intrigue in terms of what AGBI can do for me. So I think some questions here pertaining to the again the mechanics of things in terms of for example, if my startup already includes some kind of subsidized loans, government subsidized loans, will I be able to get private investors? So broadly, this category of questions pertains to what kinds of investors can we hope to attract, and therefore, what is the process for obtaining investment, whether private or government, for an idea of that I might have.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like you can, as I have said earlier, you can get the funding or investor on board as long as you have a good idea and a good team in place. So basically, even I have many cases I've worked with where the student entrepreneurs have raised like seed fund like 30 to 50 lakhs of rupees before even they graduated. And they did because they worked hard on their idea, make sure that the idea is in place. And then the good thing is we all are hearing about Startup India, Make in India. The government is really very bullish about encouraging student entrepreneurs. So government is coming up, even along with the central government. Tamil Nadu government has also announced a lot of fund support to startups starting in Tamil Nadu, and also the government of India is also giving a lot of support for startups. The second thing is, of course, the private investors are very bullish, particularly for Indian market, Indian startups, because we have a very huge market available for startups. So what they look for is your academic background. Of course, you are coming from a very prestigious B school that adds value to your pitch presentation. And then they look at how good the idea, how much due diligence you have already done with the idea. So if those things are in place, you can raise funds from the investors. So basically they take equity in exchange of the fund they are putting in. What we advise is that before going for raising any fund, as Professor Virabali has said, that first make sure that you are going through a lean method. Don't look at the fund as the ultimate target or the achievement. You need to focus on your startup idea. And once you have all the validated feedback from the customers, you know that the investors are going to actually run behind you. We have seen cases whenever someone who is doing a good job or having a good potential idea, they don't need to run behind the investors. In fact, the investors run behind. They come to look for such kind of ideas and people. So I think
by saying that always have the mindset of lowest amount of money at the lowest cost at the latest possible time. And that is where we will actually guide you to do that. And let me bottom line also say that having assessed that any good incubator, including AGBI, has already a graduated, calibrated, hierarchy of sources of money at various cost point and progress points at which to kind of engage into. And a system of developing that investment planning solution also is in play.
to add to the point, because we understand, I know that most of you might be thinking about to know more about how funding works, how investment works, where the investors are. And that's the reason we continuously organize investor workshops where we invite real-time investors who are putting their money into the startups. So what they look for when they invest money in a startup. So they come in those workshops and share what they look. Basically, they are your customers. You are selling your idea to them. So they tell you what they look for in an idea and gives you details about how and how they decide about the equity exchange. So then you will have a very good understanding what they want, and then you can pitch their idea to them.
Well, so that's, I guess, about it. Thank you, everybody. So I just want to thank you, Ranga, Professor Veeravalli, Elizabeth, and Saurabh, all three of you, for taking the time and the trouble to share all your thoughts on this. And of course, Dr. Bala, in his own inimitable way, basically talked about this vision, which was so important in terms of outlining what this purpose of this AGBI is, and how we came up with this idea and so on. So I think this has been a very, very useful session. And so this is to all the students. I just want to, let you know that, this is how, the new economy, the Indian economy, is really going to be based on ideas that come from people like you. It is so important for you to keep all your options open. And to constantly think about what you can do different, because the economy itself benefits from the best and the brightest minds. So put your thoughts, into action. Here's a very, very low risk option as far as you're concerned, because you can try something, you can, develop it while you are here at, on campus. You can develop it at AGBI, and then say that, yeah, I want to take up a job right now, but, you can come back. And then try your ideas maybe 2 or 3 years from now, 4 years from now. The fact that you have an unlimited time horizon where you can, anytime you want, you can come back and try to, give, a little more concreteness to your ideas. I think that is the beauty of AGBI, because in that sense, it presents a huge opportunity for you to think about your ideas while you're on campus, work with your friends here, try to develop it. And then, if you feel confident enough to start, you can do it, and, we will help you. And if you feel that, no, I want to go and try something and then come back, you can always do it. So it represents a really, really good win-win situation for you in terms of thinking about the opportunities that exist for you. So I want to encourage you all, it's not just a handful of you. I want to encourage you all to come visit AGBI, talk to our people, and, they're all very, very approachable. Talk to all of them and see if you have some ideas, pitch them to them, pitch your ideas to them. See if, there is some kind of attraction that, and you see that, yeah, this is something that we can take forward. And I think that is a very, very nice opportunity for you. So thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, Veeravalli. Thank you, Elizabeth. This was excellent. Yes, Veeravalli. Yeah, go ahead.
It is my duty first to thank you and Dr. Bala. Friends, in which school would you have seen a founder, chairman, and then the dean moderating, and then asking questions to the participants who are all working with him, etc. No, this is unique here. I've been here from the beginning. This is what makes Great Lakes a great family, and I want to unabashedly say this, though sentimental and mushy it may sound. Thank you, Dr. Suresh, Professor Sanjay, for being there. This is the beauty, the leaders, as you could see, Bala spoke first, Dr. Suresh spoke next, I spoke next, the CEO spoke next, and the youngest of us, Elizabeth, spoke next. And they lead, actually, we are there with them, number one. The second thing I want to tell you is, AGBI is not a commercial entity standing at arm's length for you. Great Laker is part of us. For you to kind of come and bounce your ideas, etc., you don't even come on board officially till you have that comfort, for which we are always available to you to bounce off. That's the second thing. And you can talk to us. And in fact, we will tell you, when you're not ready, don't commit yourself. Number 2. Number 3, you have a loan, you have a job to think, you have to have a payback to be planned out, etc. That is your priority. There's no being wishful in this at all. And that's also the reason why all B schools, not only us, say that it's a 5-year horizon. You go finish your other thing, but smart thing is, as Bala said, start now, gestate it, keep it growing in a logical, pragmatic, balanced way as a portfolio, and then have your partners working on it. That's another beauty. You actually go on then do the job and finish up, but you have your partners who may already be ahead of you on the curve, need not be a great later. Come on board and do that. And there are tons of ways of doing all this. And finally, I want to actually end up by saying that unlike other courses, entrepreneurship is something which is available to you through the year. The great news is that as you learn fundas and facts from the PGPM, we are here to come and experientially kind of develop your own thing. In a way, it's a capstone in the making, beautifully kind of spread out across your curriculum as well, number 1. Number 2, it is completely full. Number 3, no grades, no fears, only fun. So these are some of the other thoughts I want to give you.
Thank you. So we are getting a little delayed. Professor Sriram's session is scheduled at 11 a.m. So therefore, I want to thank you all, and please do attend Professor Sriram's session right away. I know it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Thank you.
Good day.
Yeah.